Welcome, everyone. I'm Dick Deming, Medical Director of Mercy One Cancer Center and the founder of Above and Beyond Cancer. Welcome to our weekly cancer education series. It's brought to you in part by a grant from the Iowa Oncology Society. And our topic today is Above and Beyond Cancer. And I have with us the new Executive Director of Above and Beyond Cancer, Alyssa McKinney.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And before we talk about Above and Beyond Cancer, let's get to know you a little bit. So,
Great.
where are you from originally?
So I grew up in Story County, Colo, Iowa, on a farm.
Okay.
Very much love my farm life, and I've always considered myself a country mouse, city mouse.
Okay.
So,
So growing up on a farm, was it how many acres? And did you have
well,
livestock?
there were lots of acres,
Okay.
still a lot of acres. And yes, I grew up on a hog farm, but we also raised sheep. And so I was very involved in 4-H and showed sheep and pigs all
Is
my
it
years.
Sheep for wool or sheep for meat?
Sheep for meat.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't eat the sheep,
Uh-huh.
but I liked my sheep,
Right,
so I would
okay,
never eat it.
okay.
So
So if 4-H,
4-H, yep,
right.
very involved.
How about like make it with wool or where you? I
No.
vaguely remember, like girls in high school, they'd have to make a dress,
Oh.
and then the sheep would have like a
matching?
matching.
No, but it used to be, in order to be the hog queen or swine queen or princess, or which I did not ever
Okay.
audition for.
Okay.
You had to make an outfit out of pig suede.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, I just don't think I'm going to do
Gotcha.
that.
So grew up on a farm,
Mhm.
and which town did you attend high school in?
So Colo High School, which is now and has been for a long time, Colonesco. And I have one brother who's 3 years younger, and then my parents who are healthy and retired technically now.
So did you get to drive the tractor, and did you get to plant and
No,
harvest? No,
not
no.
really.
Okay.
I mean, I did drive tractors.
Okay.
My brother would say not much, but I do disagree with that.
Okay.
I did help.
Okay.
Dad would not let me plant, or
Okay.
harvest.
Okay.
So, but my mom used to run the combine in the fall,
Oh, did she?
and we
Okay,
would
good.
ride with her. Yeah, after school.
And so high school, how many in your high school class in Colo?
So 23, but 25 if you include the 2 foreign
Foreign
exchange
exchange, okay.
students. Yeah,
And
from Sweden and Finland.
Oh, wow.
One was our foreign exchange student. Yeah.
Oh, that lived with you?
Yeah, we had 2 of them over my high school years,
Okay.
both from Sweden.
And boys or girls?
Both girls.
Okay.
Anne and Christina, who we keep in touch with today.
Okay. And what was your claim to fame in high school?
Oh, probably depends on who you talk to. I always was trying to come up with really good ideas of new things we could do. So I would always go into the principal and say, I have a great idea. And he's like, oh, I bet you do.
Okay. Were you
So-
class president or student body president?
Yeah, different over the years, different offices.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so, because it was a small town, I was involved in everything but softball, and volleyball started like during my high school time. But I played 6-on-6 basketball. I was a
Okay.
cheerleader. I played the clarinet. I was in the plays.
And you think
all the
about
things.
how what a full life that can be when you're in a town that size and get to do everything. You don't have to just choose one thing. And,
Yeah, definitely. I was very
and
lucky.
then what did you do the year you graduated from high school?
So I went to Simpson College. This is kind of another one of my kind of weird, and you wouldn't even know this. I actually wanted to be a marine biologist, and I wanted to work with whales. Whales were my favorite, and it still are my favorite animal. And in fact, the very first check I ever wrote was to save the whales when I was like in late elementary school, because I had a checking account because of the sheep. I had to have a place to put the money.
Right.
So I had a checking account, and I made a check out to save the whales and sent that in. And so I thought I wanted to be a marine biologist.
And that's why you went to Simpson College, because they had
because
such
naturally
a
strong
internationally,
ocean program.
you're right.
Yes. My parents thought it probably, I looked at schools in Florida and they thought maybe you should just go a little closer to home, because you went to such a small school, you didn't really get to have a lot of science, a variety of science, right? We had one science teacher, Mr. Bark. And so I didn't get to do a lot of science. So I went to Simpson, and then I fell in love with Simpson and my friends, and I didn't leave. And I actually wouldn't have been good floating on a boat by myself.
So
it's
instead
okay.
of majoring in marine biology, what did you major in?
Communications.
Okay.
So
you could,
do
work
whatever.
for Save the
Yeah, I
Whales.
could have.
Right.
I could have.
What was your first job out of college?
My very first job. Well, I had my internship at Channel 8. And so my very first job was I actually ran the cameras in the new studio while I was looking for a better job.
Uh-huh.
And then I worked for a private ambulance company here in Des Moines. It wasn't a good fit. And
Like marketing and public relations?
kind of, yeah. Yeah, it was
Sales,
small,
a little bit of
kind
everything.
of, yeah, going around to the nursing homes. It wasn't my thing.
Drum up business.
Yeah, to drum up business, which sounds really horrible now that I'm saying it out loud. But then then I decided I wanted to get involved in politics, and so I worked for Tom Harkin's presidential campaign.
Okay. And what was your first assignment, your job working for his campaign?
So I was the assistant to the Iowa director, and what my big job was to do Ruth Harkin's schedule and to staff her when she was in the state. And so I got to know Ruth really well, and it was a great adventure that year.
Then did you get into being a fundraiser for the campaign?
Not in that campaign, but then the next campaign I was on, that's when I started doing some more fundraising. Then I got married, moved to Houston, Texas, and worked for a, let's see, what is the order of things? I worked for a city council member in Houston, which sounds small, but in Houston, it's a very huge city. And I worked on her last campaign. She was one of the first women elected to the Houston City Council at the time in the 70s. Eleanor Tinsley was her name, an amazing woman. And I helped her last campaign, did the fundraising, and then she had also started a nonprofit that still exists today called Spark. And what Spark did was came in and created playgrounds at school for schools. So a lot of schools in the Houston area, they ripped out the old equipment and they never replaced equipment. So what we came in and did, it was create a beautiful park that was not only to be used by the school, but also the neighborhood, because Houston did not plan well for park space as they grew out, especially in the 70s. And they also don't have zoning. And so it just creates a weird park situation. So we came in and just created these great parks and neighborhoods all over the city, and it still exists today.
Oh, that's got to be rewarding.
Yes.
And so maybe that was your first time really working with
fundraising,
a true 501c3
yes, it
public
was.
charity, not for profit.
Yep, it was.
Okay.
Then I moved back to Iowa and worked for Governor Secretary Vilsack. And then I went and worked at Blank Children's Hospital for 18 years.
18 years as a fundraiser for
fundraiser.
Blank Children's Hospital. So, and now you're executive director for Above and Beyond Cancer, another 501c3 nonprofit.
Yes.
Tell me, what is it about, the nonprofits? Obviously, the first one you probably got involved with kind of a little bit tangentially because of the person you were working for. But then when you get back to Des Moines, you actually sought out a nonprofit fundraising job.
I did. I had 2 little girls and I was a single mom, and I just knew I needed a job that for me fulfilled a lot of passion and that I would love doing, because I knew I just couldn't be unhappy in my work and be a good mom and be as present as I wanted to be. And Blank really gave me that opportunity. And so it just, I think I just always have to feel some passion about what I'm doing. And, which is why I was attracted to, taking this position with Above and Beyond, because all those years I did spend in the hospital working with families, fundraising, working with families in some of their saddest moments and some of their happiest moments. I feel very comfortable in that space. And so when this job came open, I just felt it just seemed very natural to make the transition to work for Above and Beyond.
Well, we're excited to have you, and we're going to talk about Above and Beyond. But for those who don't know, I want to talk a little bit more about just the profession, being a professional fundraiser. So when you started with Blank Children's Hospital, part of the what's now the Unity Point Foundation. It's a large foundation. There's different levels of jobs. And over 18 years, I imagine what you were doing when you left there was very different than the duties you were assigned when you first started.
When I first started at Blank, I was the only person dedicated to fundraise for Blank Children's Hospital in the foundation. But during the years, because we were very successful in what we did and people are very passionate about children's healthcare, we added one and two to a couple different positions. And so I did get to grow in that, and kind of sometimes it felt like I was leading the Blank. Well, I was leading the Blank team, but I had a boss. So it wasn't like I was leading the whole foundation, right?
But a big responsibility.
A big responsibility. And, part of that, of course, was a big fundraising event, Festival of Trees and Lights. Part of that is a lot of time spent having great conversations with donors, not even when you're asking for money, but just having a personal relationship and having conversations when you're not asking for money. I think that is absolutely critical in this line of work. You just have to be present more than just asking for money, because that's just not a sincere relationship.
Right. It's more helping individuals understand the good work the organization is doing, so they feel passionate about the work and feel then good about giving. So when I think of not-for-profits and just in general, I often think of two categories that a not-for-profit does. I mean, no money, no mission. So part of a not-for-profit has to be to get revenue.
Absolutely.
Either from grants or from gifts. So that's part of it. And then the other part is, what is the mission? Basically, what do you spend the money on? What is your mission? So there's sort of mission delivery and fundraising, and they go hand in hand.
They do.
Some people think they want to work for a not-for-profit because all they want to do is the mission, and that's important. If you're big enough not-for-profit, you can sort of divide the mission delivery from the fundraising, but most you have to be aware of both things.
You do. And it's just really important. We're a small team. We're 4 people, right? And I have said to them that, we all have our individual jobs, but part of our jobs is to make sure that we're connecting with our donors, right? And we all play a role in that in different ways, from whether it's, Kelsey, who inputs all our gifts and gets letters, and I sign those, and she keeps track of all the revenue, whether it's Mary, who's doing the program delivery, or Becky, who's doing, our marketing. That makes a difference. We're all a part of making that.
Let's throw back the curtain for everybody and talk about Above and Beyond Cancer.
Okay.
So, what would you say is, again, we're going to talk about fundraising, and then we're going to talk about mission delivery. Let's talk about mission delivery first. What is the mission, the goal, the purpose of Above and Beyond Cancer, and how does Above and Beyond Cancer accomplish that mission?
Our overall mission, right, is to provide our survivors and our caregivers with this great opportunity to engage with program that help them live a healthier life. And so whether that is during their treatment, whether that's after treatment, maybe even a year after treatment, that we're engaging them and helping them be as healthy as possible, and not just physically healthy, but also mentally and spiritually, right? And so I think that's just really critical, that when we think about the whole person, it's just so important to make sure that we're really helping them through that journey in whatever way they want to connect with
Mhm.
us, right? There's so many programs out there, there's 20 some a week that you can engage in, but they're all not for everybody.
Mhm.
And, how can we be there for different people and at different times during that journey? So that's how I think about it.
Yeah. So unlike a cancer center where sort of one of the fundamental missions is to kill cancer cells.
Right. We
Um,
are not killing
we're not
any, like,
doing medical
not
treatment.
medical.
We
Right.
are doing providing services that enrich individuals' mind,
Mhm.
body, spirit, wherever they are on the journey. So let's talk about personnel and who do we have on the mission delivery side?
So we have Mary Van Hoeklem, and Mary has been a key member of the team since the beginning.
Since day one.
She started out as a volunteer and has kind of grown into this position now that is, basically full time. And she coordinates with all our instructors and trainers and thinks of new opportunities. She has a lot of great ideas.
She is amazing. So,
She
so for
is.
people who haven't met Mary, I mean, Mary is an educator. So, first part of her professional career was as
Yes.
a teacher, I think a high school teacher, and also a personal trainer
Mhm.
and coach. And then she'll also tell her own story, but also a cancer survivor.
Right.
Not when she first started with us, but now a
Mhm.
cancer survivor of 2 different cancers. So she's got
Right,
the street
recently, yeah.
credibility, but with her education background, her personal training
Mhm.
background, and just her sparkling personality,
Yes.
creating programs and encouraging people, coaching them to come along
Yes.
is just amazing.
And it really is. And I've attended a few of her classes, and how she connects with our survivors and caregivers. It's really touching, and you love to see that connection, right? She is so passionate about what she does, and it's just so very clear. She's just amazing.
So she's primarily the
Mm.
face of
Mhm.
mission delivery, all of the programs. Some people think of Above and Beyond Cancer as an international trip once a year. Well, that's something we do,
Sure.
but we've got 30 different activities every week that are
Yes.
taking
We have so many
place.
programs every week, and they're free, right? We provide those at
So let's
very
see if
little
between the
cost.
two of us, we can name all of those.
Oh, I can't.
Okay.
And there's
We'll
some new.
alternate. We'll alternate.
There's new
Okay,
ones
you get to
too.
start the new one.
Well, I'm not sure if am I supposed to say it yet? I don't know. We have our new rowing.
We've got rowing,
r-
indoor rowing, or is
In
it going to be outdoor?
erg for right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Row
Awesome.
and renew.
Row and renew. So
Mhm.
that's a new one.
Mhm.
We also did a new one this year, ballroom dancing.
We did.
We did for the first time.
Yes.
Okay.
Through our young adult program that we're getting off the ground to really kind of meet.
We had an old geezer ball.
Oh, you had
ballroom
one too?
dancing too.
Old
No,
geezers.
I'm sorry. We had a mature
Ballroom
ballroom
dancing.
dancing.
It was a different
That
dancing that young adults did, I think.
Yes, it was at the same place, but at a different time.
Okay.
So there was ballroom dancing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, there's pole walking.
Pole walking. So that is hiking with poles.
Which is
Yeah.
harder than what you think.
And there is regular hiking once a week,
Yep.
52 weeks a year. There's
Yep.
an outdoor hike.
Yes.
You're
There's
next.
yoga.
There's meditation.
There's Tai Chi.
There's sound bath.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay.
There's forest bathing.
There's stretching.
There's cooking classes.
Cooking class. There's cross training, which is both aerobic and resistance training and stretching in kind of a cross training class, typically in the gym, but they're starting one now that's at Waterworks Park, an outdoor cross training.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Let's see. There is biking.
Yes.
Of
Indoor
course.
biking.
Indoor biking, which you do.
I teach every Wednesday night. And then
outdoor.
every Tuesday evening is an outdoor bike ride from May, June, July, August, and September.
They had the first one last night, and I think they had 20 some bikers.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Mary was telling me. Let's see. There's book club.
Book club. They do some special paddle boarding sometimes in the summer.
Okay.
On Grays Lake.
Let's see.
Or Easter Lake.
Well, yeah. And we're going to have new
Water
programming at
aerobics.
Easter.
Water
Oh,
aerobics.
that's a big program. Yes.
Yes.
That's very full. That's
Yep.
we could have mini water aerobics classes, and I think they'd be full all the time. What else?
So when I said 30,
recovery
recovery yoga,
uh-huh.
and then there's a more gentle cross training class as well. So, and these are held where? Where are all these different things?
You know what? They're held everywhere, right? All over the metro
The
area.
YMCA's, the wellness centers.
Yep. The Abba Family Center in Ankeny, Trail Point in Ankeny,
city parks, state parks,
yes,
county parks.
Yep. And we're expanding to Easter Lake with the new facilities there. That's called Trail Point. So that'll be new, both pole walking and then eventually maybe rowing on the water,
Right.
but a nerd program.
Did we say book club?
I said book club.
You did, yes.
Yeah.
So those are sort of activities, and the great thing about those activities is they can be great physical activity in terms of health, but they are also, each one of those has a component of sort of this social dimension of doing these activities with other cancer survivors.
Exactly.
So we don't have a, sit around the table sort of support group, but I can tell you, if you're hiking with other cancer survivors, it's a support group.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it is. And I've witnessed that firsthand too, because I've done some of the pole walking, and very much they enjoy that community they have.
Another component of mission delivery that we started about 2 years ago was the lodging program,
right?
Hotel program. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes,
program.
and Kelsey Parker runs that program for us, and that's really came from out of the pandemic. The American Cancer Society stopped that lodging program that they had done and asked us to pick up Iowa, and which we have done. And last year there were 923 rooms we provided for cancer patients last year getting treatment anywhere in Iowa. They have to live 50 miles from the cancer center they're receiving treatment. So just not here, folks come in here to Des Moines, right? It could be Iowa City, it could be Mason City, it could be Fort Dodge, just wherever they're traveling to.
Anyone in Iowa who is receiving cancer care in Iowa in a community, a cancer center more than 50 miles where they live, we can provide them lodging at the center.
Yes.
And as you mentioned, it's not just lodging in Des Moines for patients receiving treatment at Mercy or Unity Point. It's other centers, whether it's Mason City or Fort Dodge or Council Bluffs.
And that's really good. And, I've seen some of the thank you letters we get from folks that we help, and it's really touching. I think we know that some people might not seek treatment sometimes, or might, modify it because they just can't afford to be able to be here overnight in Des Moines or wherever they're traveling to.
In a state like Iowa, that has a large rural area, and you have to be a pretty large city to be able to have radiation therapy and chemotherapy infusion, and especially radiation treatments are weeks long. So if you don't live in a town that has a radiation therapy center, and there's probably only 10 communities at most in all of Iowa, maybe not even that many,
might not be,
that have radiation, it's difficult.
So it's, we're continuing to see more usage of that program, and it's, really making a difference. So it's great to see that. And, I consider that part of, that mind, right? We're making people feel at ease, that they can get their treatment and feel taken care of, and they have a place to sleep. So
those are our mission delivery. And then we have events that are kind of serve. How would you describe, what role does an event play? Let's say our Cancer Survivor Day bike ride,
which is coming up here in June, on June 2nd, I believe.
Sunday,
right?
June 2nd. Yep. We
at
meet
9
at
o'clock.
the city park in Slater.
And
we ride over the High Trestle Trail, over the High Trestle,
Mhm.
to Woodward and do a ceremony and then
Come back.
ride back. It's a
Yeah.
25-mile bike ride, kind of at everyone's own pace.
Right.
Not a race.
It's not a race. And I think what's great about that is, to me, like we have a couple different categories of events in my mind. We have the ones that are really mission driven, which is like the Survivor Day bike ride or the Cancer Day hike. That's in February. Even the fur ride, the fun community event that's in February, compared to our fundraising events that really the purpose of those are to raise dollars, right? And those events are a little bit
Right.
different. So the mission ones, I think, are really special. Everyone can participate. It's a real sense of community, and those play an important role in part of our who we are.
Right. So that you get the physical activity, you get the
Mhm.
social connection. We do a bit of advocacy, a little bit of marketing, but those aren't intended to be fundraising.
No.
They're free
Right.
for the most part, and they
Right.
just kind of promote the lifestyle and also encourage then that social connection and give us the opportunity to tell the story of
Mhm.
Above and Beyond
Mhm.
Cancer.
Right. And especially as we change, like adding the hotel program, it's important for folks to keep knowing, who we are, even, as we mature too, right? And then we have our fundraising events. So our first fundraising event coming up here is a new event. It's called Ride in the Park.
Ride in the Park. So tell us about Ride in the Park.
Ride in the Park is going to be down at Waterworks. Hopefully we're not flooding and we don't have to close the roads
It's not
or
gonna
something.
flood.
Okay. Well, it's flooding right now, I
Oh, it's
think.
never flooding.
Okay. But we are doing, in essence, it's a 9-hour bike ride. It's a 5-mile loop. We're encouraging, you could ride the whole time,
Mhm.
but we're really encouraging people to think about it as a team
As
sport.
teams.
Yeah.
So
So
you
you would
have somebody
alternate.
out on the course.
Right. And we're going to have bands going and food trucks and, fun activities for people to participate in. So it's just kind of a celebration of.
So it's a bit of a celebration, a bit of a party, and a fundraising.
And
event.
fundraising. There is. Yep.
Mhm.
There's a fee to ride in it. And then there's a fundraising goal for everybody as
Mhm.
well. And we just really had to do that. I mean, obviously, kind of closing in Waterworks Park for 9 hours, it does cost us money. So
Mhm.
we have to make sure
Yeah.
we do a little fundraising on
In some
top
ways,
of
it's
that.
kind of like if folks ever went to a dance marathon in college where you
Yes.
get everybody together in an arena for 24 36 hours and everybody sort of dances. It's not really a competition, it's a fundraising, but it has fun. But we're going to do it in 9 hours, not 36 hours.
Right. Which I did hear at one time. This bike ride was maybe going to be a 24 hour, but so I
yes.
am thankful.
We're sort of easing into
I'm
it.
thankful for that.
Yes.
So 9 sounds good.
Right.
And
right.
it's and the
It's
other
in daylight, so we don't have to.
it's daylight.
We don't
that
have
was
to
my-
hire a lot of
Mhm,
lights to
mhm,
keep everything
mhm.
illuminated.
And
at
of
night.
course, the night before, Ario Speedwagon is at the amphitheater, so we can't even start until 10 o'clock the
Okay.
next morning.
Well, we'll
So
see if Ario will promote
do you think?
our
Yeah,
event.
do you think
Or
they'll ride?
stay
Yeah,
and
maybe
ride.
they'll ride. I
Yeah.
don't know. So
So that's one of the events that's
yes,
a fundraising.
June 22nd.
Okay, June
And
22nd.
yep.
Waterworks Park.
Yes.
And what's the website for Above and Beyond Cancer? If
It
somebody wants to
is
learn about these activities.
above and beyond cancer.org. So you can,
Org.
we have an event tab. You can go in there, and Becky on our team, who does our marketing and organizes all our events, she, does a great job making sure that it's easy to find things and get signed up. And so she does a great job.
What other fundraising events are we doing this summer?
One that we're doing.
Oh, yes.
The Jump.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. I've raised over $10,000.
Oh my goodness.
How much have you raised?
So wait, are you just I'm at half of that.
Okay.
I am at half of that. And so you're just gonna jump?
I'm just gonna jump.
Like a jump shot in basketball?
Kind of. I'm gonna be attached to somebody.
Gotcha.
So
You're gonna actually jump out of an airplane.
I'm gonna jump out of an airplane.
Yes.
And my daughters, Emma and Isabel, are not happy with me but my parents seem to be fine, and Matt seems to be fine with it. So,
Okay.
my brother thinks I'm crazy,
Yeah.
but it's okay.
So this will be the second year that
Yep.
Above and Beyond Cancer has done this. So it's a parachute jump. So celebrity jumpers and cancer survivors.
Yes.
So I'm not a cancer survivor,
And I'm not
you're
either.
So
No.
we
Are we celebrities?
we must fall under the celebrity
Okay,
category
okay.
because those are the two categories. Is cancer survivor and so you've never jumped out of an airplane?
I haven't. I
Okay.
haven't. But I grew up. My grandfather had a plane on the farm,
Like
and
a crop duster?
not a crop duster.
Okay.
It was a little Taylor Craft 2-seater prop start wooden prop plane, and he had an airstrip, and the hangar was on his farm.
And was this purely for fun?
Yeah.
Okay.
Always called it his perfect spying machine because he could nosy over everyone's
see what the-
farmland
I
and see
see
what
what-
people were doing. He loved it. Loved it.
Could see what they're
Yeah.
planting, how
So-
their corn's doing.
Yeah, or are they digging a pond? Are they building a new building? It was this perfect spy machine. So, yeah, it was. So I flew with him a lot since I was 3,
Uh-huh.
and that's probably more frightening than jumping out of a plane. So I
Yeah,
think
because not supposedly, we are with professionals.
we are.
Yeah.
We are.
And Grandpa was.
Well, I mean, he was a pilot in World War
Uh-huh.
II, but still,
he was.
he
okay,
was.
Okay.
And he truly had his wings. But still, there was a real close call my brother and my grandpa had with a field of corn one time. So
okay.
almost took off all of the.
Yeah. So this should be
Yeah,
safer
so I
than
think-
flying with Grandpa.
Yeah, I think this will be okay, and I think it's good to try and do hard things.
Yes.
And
If you don't reach above and beyond what
Right.
you know you can do, you'll
Right.
have no idea what you're capable of.
And I also feel really strongly that I can't ask others to jump if I'm not willing to do it.
Right.
So I felt that it seemed to make sense that I should jump out of a plane.
Welcome to your new position.
I
We're gonna push
know.
you out of an airplane.
Great, I know.
So that's this summer, and
that's June 9th.
and then we're gonna have a party to celebrate all
Yes,
the jumpers.
on September 5th.
Okay.
So, and that's the hangar party, and that's a nice celebration. We have a fun movie with all the jumpers. So our 2 jump dates are June 9th and July 19th, and there's 19 people jumping. So we'll have some great video from both those days.
And then coming up in September, October,
November.
I
Oh.
was thinking of our trip.
Oh, yes.
So this is another
Yes, of
mission
course.
delivery,
Yes.
a mind, body, spirit, physical activity. And that is our transformational journey. So last year, we took a group of 31 cancer survivors and caregivers and summited Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yes.
This year, we're going to do the northern part of the Appalachian Trail
Yeah.
from Massachusetts to Maine.
Yeah. And you're going to have 22 folks with you.
22 folks. Yeah.
And people might wonder why the trip's not as big, but it's because the Appalachian Trail has very strict guidelines on how many people you can have on the trails. So
Right.
we have 22 hardy people going to take off and do that in September.
And so that will be hiking from campsite to campsite
Mhm.
along the Appalachian Trail. And again, this is the northernmost. It ends up in the middle of Maine. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's in September and October. And then in November,
we have our big annual dinner called Celebrate. And so this year, our guest speaker is Chuck Offenberger, who is both a cancer survivor, a caregiver, and now kind of has, kind of this new life in this new phase that he's in, and he's funny in general. So I think he's going to really enlighten us with
and
a great
also
message.
journalist.
Oh,
and a
yes,
great
longtime
writer and
journalist, so
speaker.
creative.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be fun. So we're anxious to have him speak, and that's November 14th.
And so getting back to what we talked about at the beginning with 30 different activities we do every week and paying for 1,000 hotel rooms, have fundraising
right.
activities.
That's right.
Because
Yes.
this is almost all of our activities are done totally free of charge
Yeah.
to those who participate in them.
Yes, exactly. And that's why it's so critical that when we think about everything that we do, that that makes a difference in people wanting to support us, right? Because of the difference we're making in people's lives. And I think it's just real important that we really talk about like the mission and what we're doing and the programs that we offer. Fundraising events are very important, but we also have to have great relationships with donors and with our corporations and
Mhm.
foundations in town, that they believe in what we're doing. And so, there's a lot of different arms of how you make that all
So
successful.
talk a bit about the philosophy of fundraising, because, you know, in many ways, it's about storytelling.
It
I
is.
mean, you don't just go up to somebody and say, "Hey, will you give this amount of money to these?" It's about being able to tell the story of
Mhm.
what the
Mhm.
organization does and how it impacts people, to get someone interested in the idea that this is a cause they'd like to be part of.
Yeah, it really is. And I think, the one thing, obviously, everybody's lives are touched by cancer, right? You can't, I mean, my grandmother had cancer in the 70s, breast cancer. And I, remember as that little girl, I was probably in third grade. I was embarrassed to say the word breast. It was just, I just didn't even understand like what that meant back then. And so you cannot, everyone's touched by it, whether it's a loved one, yourself, friends, neighbor, whatever. And so when you can really connect that with people and show the difference that Above and Beyond can make, that's how you get people engaged in wanting to support what you're doing. And I think storytelling, the videos we do. I mean, if you watch the Kili movie, right, from Kilimanjaro, I mean, you're shedding a tear and you are really moved by what folks went through as they climbed and
Mhm.
summited Kilimanjaro. So I think, the more we can tell those stories and share and connect with people, the the more we can help more,
Right.
more
And
individuals.
even the hotel program has given an opportunity to
Yeah.
tell stories in a different
It
way.
really has. And when we think about Above and Beyond, it's really a greater Des Moines program, right? But when you think about the hotel program, that's really reaching people in rural Iowa, all over the state, in ways that we just haven't been able to reach people yet. I mean, that's our goal, to do more programming that. Whether that's going to be virtual or ways to engage with folks, or let them, engage with us. But we just don't have that opportunity in rural Iowa as much as we do in the Des Moines area. And so it's the hotel program's great in that respect, really touching a lot of
Yeah,
people.
doing a lot of important work,
Mhm.
touching a lot of people, and then
Mhm.
also gives us the opportunity of sharing that story.
Yes.
I often think of fundraising in, at least two different buckets, and you might have other categories, but um, there's well, maybe three: individual philanthropy,
Mhm.
so individuals giving, corporations
Mhm.
giving that
Mhm.
they'd like to have their name associated with what we're doing. And then there's this grant, which is kind of
Mhm.
a competitive grant where you actually say, this is what we want to do and apply to an organization. And so I can think of three different grants that we are currently recipients of.
Mhm.
We're recipients of a grant from the American Cancer Society.
Right.
We're a recipient of a grant from the Iowa Cancer Consortium,
Yep.
and we're a recipient of a grant from the Iowa Oncology Society.
Correct.
And
Correct.
maybe talk a little bit about the process of applying for and stewarding grants.
Yes. Grants is kind of that whole other world on the fundraising side. And sometimes some of the corporations, you have to go through a grant process with them too.
Mhm.
Or even, the community foundation, they have a grant process. But today, earlier, Mary and Kelsey and I were meeting about our grant for the Iowa Cancer Consortium. And it's really thinking through like how this program can make a difference, making sure we're hitting the areas of interest that are important to them. You really have to kind of spell out and have a pretty good idea of what you're proposing. You can't
You
you
can't
can't
just
fake
say,
it.
please
No,
give us some
no, you
money
cannot say,
because
please give us money.
we're a
Right.
good organization.
Right. You know us. We're good.
It's really saying, if you were to give us this, this
This
is
is
what we
would
would
do.
do
Right.
that we're not already doing.
Right. Right.
How this is the
Yeah.
so
And so, I think for our team, with four of us, what's also important is in that is there's only four of us. So we also have to be thoughtful of what we're asking for money for, that we can do
mhm.
what we're saying we can do.
Because there's work involved in applying for it, but then when
there's
you receive a grant, there's
to implement it.
work
Right.
of implementing it, and
Right.
then also giving the
Yeah. Getting,
feedback to the organization.
yep. You always have to do
showing
grant
that we
reports.
that we
Mhm.
have done what we said we were going to
Exactly. Hopefully. No. But for us, it gives us an opportunity to look at, is there intern programs we could talk to, whether that's Drake, Simpson, Grandview, is there a consultant that maybe we need to be having conversations with that could help direct us? We have to be a little more creative because we are a small team and everybody works already very full time. So,
Mhm.
we can't just say we're going to do this without a plan of how really we could do it.
And we talk about being a small organization, but we have a budget of $1 million a year, which means that in order to continue to do what we're doing, we need to raise $1 million a year.
Or more.
Or more.
Preferably more.
Yes. Spoken
Yes.
as a very good
Fundraiser.
fundraiser and executive director. Yes.
Always more. No.
Yeah.
But no,
But we joke about it, but it's true. No
is.
money, no mission. I mean,
No,
we
right,
can't,
right.
it's a not-for-profit. I mean, you can't just give away services forever if you're not
right.
able to actually raise money. So,
Right.
And the more that we raise, then the more programs we can do.
Yeah. And the more expansion that we can have and, and what that looks like, we're going to go through a strategic planning process this fall.
Let's talk about that. So let's put this in the context of you have just become executive director
Yes.
of an organization that is like 12, 13 years old. What was your approach, as you came on? I mean, you've been with us for about 5 months or so.
2.5.
2.5.
Yeah, it just feels like 5 months.
2.5. I was
just
thinking
kidding.
the first of the year. That's
yeah,
when
it was like the end of February.
End of February you start. So what did you give yourself as an assignment to do your first month? And what do you think of as, what you would like to accomplish during your first year as executive director?
For me, initially, it was, to listen, to get to know everybody, get to know the team. My love language is like gift giving. So I gave little gifts to staff, and I did May baskets last week. But, for me, it was really getting to know the team, getting to know you. We met before I started as well. And, that was important to me. And then get to know the board. So I have met with almost every single board member. I just have a few and I have 2 more this week and then 2 more after that. But, to really get to know the people that are behind the organization. And I wanted to listen to them, listen to what they felt we should be doing, what, they think we're doing great, what they think we could improve on, and really taking that, to heart of where we should be. It's always great to start with an organization. Chris, who was your executive director for 5 years, I've known him since college. And so he's been a great resource for me to call. Just really taking the time to learn the programs, to learn, our mission, to understand everything. It takes a while. We do a lot of things. And I'm still surprised sometimes. Mary said something the other day and I'm like, oh, we do? And I didn't even know. So, it's a learning process. So really listening.
And you mentioned the board. Talk a little bit about the role of a board of directors for a not-for-profit.
Yeah. It's really critical, especially when a organization is smaller. We really need those board members to be out there in the community representing us, making gifts, or introducing us to other donors, to really help us drive like where we go next. It's just not, the four of us and you sitting in a room, just us deciding what to do, right? We include the whole group. And, part of that, like I said, we're going to go through strategic planning. And that is a great opportunity. I especially think with me being new and the organization raising more money and like, what do we want to be as we get older?
So strategic planning is, what do we want to be?
What do we want to
And
be?
we often, strategic planning is often done like in maybe 5-year increments. What's our strategic plan for the next 5 years? What do we want to accomplish? Kind of sit down and actually do some visioning about,
We will.
I mean, you can continue to do what you're doing, but what would we like to, where would we like to be in 5 years?
Yeah, exactly. And, we're going to start that process in August, and it'll be about 5 months. And that will be, surveying our, staff members, because it's also critical that the staff's involved in that process too. And our board members, and then our folks that are connected to our organization that partake in our programs, do some surveying. Then we'll do some meetings where we sit around in a conference room a couple different times and for a couple hours and have some conversation. And this is being led by someone, right? We're not doing it ourselves, which I think is really important. It will really help us think bigger, I think, by having someone else from the outside help direct us. And so it's just like a perfect time to do this. With me being new, we'll have new officers starting, in January because the 2-year term's up. So it's really a perfect time to go through this process.
And obviously that process will happen, but what do you think are some of the ideas that will likely percolate to the top based on what you already know? I mean, where do you think an organization, any organization, as they look to what the future might be, what are some of the general categories?
Well, I think probably like for Above and Beyond in particular, I really think it's going to be like, do we grow outside of Greater Des Moines? I think that's probably the biggest question.
Who are our constituents? And do we think about expanding our constituency
into the state more? And how would we do that? And how would we provide free programming in a community like Cedar Rapids or something, Iowa City, without, you can't have Mary at all those, right? So that looks different to have other people involved. And so I think that will be really good to figure out, who do we want to be, and it's okay if we decide we want to be super amazing in Greater Des Moines and we're going to really focus on that. And that's who we are. But can we be bigger? Can we help more people across the state?
And I would say that another main topic, and every industry experienced this during COVID, is, are there things we can do virtually? And what does that look like? And, we've got a website, but do we need an app? What is the right way to deliver programming in a virtual sense? And does that give you the opportunity to expand geographically without actually going somewhere?
Right. Which would be great, especially for rural Iowa, right? To have more programming available that way. And so I think those are the things we're going to discover.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be great.
What is, what part of being an executive director of a not-for-profit, what brings you the most joy in your job?
In my job? I think it's been really interesting to kind of move into this role. Like I said, when I was at Blank, I kind of felt like I was in charge of the Blank's things for fundraising.
They didn't let you decide the medical protocols for treating the
No,
patients.
they did not.
So you weren't in charge of that.
No.
But you were in charge of the fundraising.
But I did say I played a doctor on TV.
You did?
I did used to say that because people always ask me medical questions.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of times I know the right answer. So I figure if they can do it on TV, I can do it, right?
There we go. I will
remember
ask
that.
you, yes.
The
guidelines for treating polycythemia vera.
Yeah, I really specialize in pediatrics.
Okay.
So No, I'm just kidding you.
So
No.
back to what brings you joy.
Right. So I think really just getting in there and knowing that we're making a difference for people.
Feeling like you're an integral part
Yeah. And I just think
of helping
every
someone.
day it's been fun to connect with people and, get out there in the community and have conversations. I'm having them every day with lots of different people. And, it's just a really great opportunity to talk about what we're doing. So
And
that
you're a
brings me
real
joy.
people person.
I'm
so-
typically a people person. Yes.
And when I think back, I conversations with people, I'm not, there's sort of a cocktail room of,
Sure.
30-second conversation here. That's not so fulfilling. But to sit down with someone with an hour-long conversation where you're talking about real things, give and take and what's important. I mean, that's a real joyful experience.
It is. And like I said before, everyone has a cancer story. And so there is just that automatic connection just to what we're doing. So that brings me joy.
And what brings you joy? What are some of the things that bring you joy in your life outside of Above and Beyond Cancer?
Well, my daughters, Emma and Isabel, they both live in Washington, D.C., but are flying home on Monday. So I'm super excited. Of course, Matt, my longtime partner, we have a lot of fun together. And our favorite place that brings us immense joy is the Big Island of Hawaii.
Oh, yes.
And we get to travel there fairly often. I mean, at least once a year. And he has family that lives there. And
oh, wow.
And so we really, it is our happy place. But we also just like travel.
And the Kona side or the Hilo side?
We're the Kona side. Yeah,
okay.
we're the sunny side.
Uh-huh.
Yes. As you know, Hilo gets a little rainy over there.
Yeah.
So, but I think also gardening. I love flowers. As you can tell, I'm wearing flowers, but I love
What flowers do you have in your garden?
I have lots
year?
of different flowers. So started out, of course, with daffodils and tulips and hyacinths, which were my grandmother's favorite flower. That was the first. What do I have blooming right now? My pansies are blooming and looking really nice. I'm kind of in between. There's stuff that's going to start popping pretty soon.
So
my daisies have
so you're
started
still
to open up.
planting? Is everything planted?
No, I really haven't. I mean,
Okay.
I like to plant a lot of perennials, so stuff comes up every year, but it's kind of my goal that I can have something to cut in my garden to put in a vase throughout the growing season.
Okay.
So I try to have flowers, but my favorite flower is the lilac, which is a tree and lasts for, maybe 2 weeks in Iowa. And so that's always quick and fast and makes me sad when it's over.
And so you have lilacs, the
No,
purple.
I
You
don't,
don't.
because
Okay.
my neighbor has a walnut tree, and the walnut tree, I do have a lilac, but it makes one bloom a year. And
Because they don't
I think
grow
it
in the
poison. I know, walnut
Oh.
trees are pretty toxic,
Mm.
and I think it does something to my lilac bush. I don't know. Anyway,
Okay.
but so I love gardening, and we like cooking, and yeah.
Good. So
Going
have you
to the
been?
farm.
Did you go to Ewing Park every year
I
with
do.
all the lilacs there?
I do. I went twice this year,
Okay.
and I go. It's a pilgrimage every year, and I even went there as a small child. There's a picture of me with my face in a lilac bush as a little girl.
So we had a lilac bush right outside our back door, and I would tell you, anytime I smell a lilac bush, the memory takes me right back to my childhood. Yeah.
It's just such a beautiful. My peonies are going to pop soon, which also smell beautiful. So.
And do peonies have to have ants
Yes,
as part of their biology?
I think they do.
Okay.
Mhm. I think it must be something.
Oh my gosh! Let's open up to questions. I
Oh.
can't believe
Last time I looked up
we
there,
all-
it was.
we only have 5 minutes
6.
left. Okay, we have a live studio audience, so they get first shot at questions. Questions for Alyssa McKinney. Here we go.
I've got a question here. We've had reports here on the show about the rising incidence of cancers, particularly in Iowa, and also the rising survivability, which is the good news. That would seem to indicate there's more of a need for organizations like yours. Is that true? And then secondly, are your donors or your supporters understanding and buying into that?
You know, I would say definitely is true. We had more referrals in the first quarter than like we did in with the first half of the year before. So we've had an increase in referrals to our programming. And our donors connecting with that, not yet, but they will. We will definitely start talking more about how many more people we're reaching compared to the year before or the years before.
Mhm.
So there's it has increased a lot.
But a good point you make that also can serve as part of our advocacy is living in Iowa, the only state in the country that has an increasing incidence, and with a very good cure rate, that we have more and more cancer survivors, so that our constituents is growing, and it is a demand on us to continue to have the
Grow our
capacity
programs.
to serve more people.
Yeah, because like our aquatics program in particular, that's almost always full. And, you know, because so many people like to use that program, but we need to expand it to continue to meet the need. So that's a good example.
We have
I'm always
time.
interested in the mental health aspect of your program delivery in particular. You mentioned the meditation programming that would seem to fit into that category. But then when you step back and look at it, is the entire organization, the entire program, with the physical nature of it in many ways, also the mental part of it, because of the benefit that it has for mental health?
Absolutely. I mean, without question, right? That's
Yes.
what
Studies
made you
show.
start.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so it's interesting that when you talk about health, and you think of healthy and positive, when you put the word mental in front of health, it becomes a negative. So, but it doesn't need to be that. There is positive mental health, and improving one's health and well-being means they don't just have bigger biceps and can run faster, but that they have a mental and philosophical outlook that allows them to find more joy and accomplish more things in life. So you're absolutely right that what we do, and that's why we talk about mind, body,
Mhm.
spirit, it enhances mental health, spiritual health, and physical health. So we're not in the realm of, just like we don't treat cancer, I mean, we don't specifically treat mental illness, but we absolutely improve individuals' physical health, mental health, and philosophical, spiritual health. So I'm afraid we're going to have to bring it to an end right now. Do you have one quick question, Kevin? Okay. Okay. So I am sorry that I did not turn it over to Q&A fast enough, but I want to thank those of you that have attended both in person and virtually. If you know someone that would benefit by watching this program, it's going to be available on demand beginning tomorrow at the Above and Beyond Cancer YouTube channel and the Mercy Cancer Center website. And I hope you will join us again next week. Thanks, everyone.